Good morning, Year 8. Today we're looking at chemistry on Earth, and we're going to be able to identify and differentiate between elements, compounds, atoms, and molecules. Can you tell the difference? With the atoms, we're going to look at the atomic particles and the atomic number and mass. You're going to be able to write word equations and look at the symbol for the equation. And we're going to be able to name simple chemical compounds formed from two elements that bond. Can you put a heading in your book, Chemistry on Earth, and the date? Pause the video. When you're ready, you continue. Right, so the first do now topic is to please put a heading atom. And can you draw and label an atom? Here are some of the labels you're going to use. Pause the video and do that now. If you've drawn the atom, you should know that the outer shell has got an electron or electrons that spin around the outside of the atom. These have negative charges. In the center of the atom is a nucleus, and the nucleus has positive charges called protons and neutral charges called neutrons. Mark your work or do any corrections needed. Pause the video and then continue. So what is an atom? Atoms are the basic building blocks of all matter. They're the fundamental building blocks of the universe. Everything that you see and touch and feel, even the gases, are made up of atoms. Sometimes they are chemically joined, so they become larger particles, and when they are chemically joined, we call those compounds or molecules. Please can you write a definition for atoms? Pause. Right, looking at that atom, we know that atoms have got protons, electrons, and neutrons. So how do we know? Every atom on the periodic table, they are different. That becomes an element. So for example, if we look at beryllium, it's found in group 2. It's got an atomic number of 4. The atomic number will tell you how many protons there are. And in beryllium, for example, now we see that there's 4 protons. If there are 4 protons, that also there are then the same amount of electrons which are negatively charged. So the protons and the electrons have the same number. We get that from the atomic number. When we look at the atomic mass, in this case for beryllium it's 9, the atomic mass minus the atomic number of the protons is going to make up the number of neutrons. So in this case there were 9, the atomic mass is 9, minus 4 gives you 5 neutrons. Can you pause the video, draw the table, and write this down, please? You're going to need it. Can you open your Word document? On the Word document, it shows you these 4 symbols which represent some elements on the periodic table. He stands for helium. It's found in group 2. So the atomic number here for helium, number 2, tells us then that there are 2 protons. If there are 2 protons, it tells you then there are 2 electrons. The atomic mass is 4. 4 minus 2 is going to tell you how many neutrons there are. You can pause the video and complete this worksheet now, this section. Right, There's a table on your worksheet. It's the same thing. It's just placed in table format. So sodium is found on your periodic table. What sodium represented by the symbol Na in group 1, there's an atomic number of 11. If there's 11, the atomic number, then that means there must be 11 protons. If there are 11 protons, it means that there are 11 electrons. So throughout, whatever the atomic number is, that element will have the same number of protons as the atomic number, and there will be the same number of electrons. The atomic mass is the bigger number. For sodium, the atomic mass is 23. If we subtract the atomic number from the atomic mass, we're going to get 12. This tells us how many neutrons there are. You can now continue and complete this on your own. Pause the video. Right, looking at elements and compounds. An element is made up of one type of atom only. All the elements are listed on the periodic table. You have a periodic table in your planner. You've also been given a copy for your book. So elements are made up of one type of atom. A molecule contains two atoms bonded together. So it could be, for example, these two grey spheres represent hydrogen. It could also represent many water molecules, two hydrogens and an oxygen. The red represents oxygen, the grey represents hydrogen. So a molecule contains two bonded elements together. So there could be many molecules of water that are bonded together. And then a compound contains two or more types of atoms. So these are actually two or more different types of atoms. Could you pause this and write down a definition for elements in your book, for molecule in your book, and an element definition for compound. So just a reminder, these are what you should have written down in your book. Going back to your worksheet, you should now be able to link up what is an atom, which of these definitions, what is an element, so just take a ruler and join up the different definitions. Number 2, it's asking you now to write down 6 elements. Obviously you find them in the periodic table, and what is the symbol. So here you were given 6 elements. You were given the symbol, but what is the name? And when we do symbols, we always start the symbol off with a capital because it's got a name. Different elements have different names, like He stands for helium. So you are now writing 6 elements in here and the symbol. Pause. Right, in your book now, these atoms are all being represented by circles. The different colors represent different atoms or different elements. So this one that has got the same atom, but it's combined, this then is a molecule. This one has 2 different atoms combined. This one then is a compound. None of them are linked. So 2 yellows, 1 green, 2 yellows, 1 green. So this on its own is an atom. This is an atom. This is a compound. Sorry. So each of these are compounds. These are the same. Remember, the same atoms joining together. What do we call that? Here are single atoms on their own. Is this an element, a compound, or a molecule? You decide. Because they are not bonded. Please notice the gaps. Over here, we've got the same atoms, but they combined. What do we call that? And then you can complete this on your own. Pause the video. Going on to word equations. Word equations, using the word that represents the symbol. What do we start with? Those atoms that we start with, those elements are called reactants. And those that we end up with is called the products. So we name the reactants. We use a plus sign when they are added together. And then an arrow which gives us the result of the product. So here is an example. We've got a product. What would the reactants have been? So what does the C represent? Find that in your periodic table. What does the O represent? And how many are there? And then once it's chemically combined, it makes a new product. What is the new product's name? Pause the video, write out the word equation for this one. So your reactants would have been carbon plus oxygen plus another oxygen, and the product would have been a complete new name, carbon dioxide. Di meaning double oxygen. If you haven't been able to write this word equation, do that now. So here's a second example for a word equation. So we're given one oxygen atom and two hydrogen atoms that have chemically combined. So what are the reactants? What did we start with? Reactant, reactant. And what is the end product? So H2O is the end product from the start of hydrogen and oxygen. We can say that hydrogen plus oxygen makes water. You might have said hydrogen oxide, but the correct word is water. Please mark your work or do the correction and then continue. So here's very simple compounds. We have done displacement reactions before. If we look at iron and sulfur, when we combine iron and sulfur, it becomes a new product, so it changes its name slightly. Iron and sulfur makes iron sulphide. Magnesium and nitrogen makes, well, we know we started with magnesium and it changed its name to magnesium nitride. Can you complete these on your own? Pause the video, do this on the worksheet. Can you mark your work now? Have a look. We already did iron and sulfur. These are the reactants. And this is the end product. And because it combined to make something new, the names have changed slightly. How did you do? What was your final result? Right, here we have a short quiz. Just write the heading short quiz. In your book, put number 1 to 7 underneath each other. And we're going to go through the questions pretty quickly. You're only going to decide is the answer A, B, C, or D. Number 1, which of these is a compound? Is it bromine, copper, carbon dioxide, or uranium? Now remember, compound is a new product. You won't find it on the periodic table because it's made up of 2 different elements. Number 2, which of these best describes a compound? Is it 2 or more atoms bonded together? Is it 2 or more elements mixed together? Is it 2 elements bonded together? or is it two or more types of molecules mixed together? A, B, C, or D? Number 3. Which of these could best describe compounds? Are they substances that are similar to an element? Can they be formed when elements react together? Can they be formed when elements decompose, break down into two or more different substances? Or are they substances with symbols in the periodic table? Decide, is that A, B, C, or D? Number 4. What would you name a compound if you took sulfur, oxygen, and zinc? Now, there's not just sulfur and zinc, there's sulfur and oxygen. So, do you think it's sulfur zincide, zincate, zinc sulphide, or sulfate? What do you think? A, B, C, or D? Number 5. What forms the atomic mass? Is the atomic mass the atomic mass? Is it made up of neutrons? Is it made up of protons and neutrons? Or is it made up of only electrons? A, B, C, or D? Question 6. What charge does an electron carry? Is it a proton charge? Is it a neutron charge? Is it a positive charge or a negative charge? A, B, C, or D? Number 7. What do we call the positive charge in an atom? Do we call it a neutron, a proton, an electron, or atomic mass? Right, we're finished with that. You're going to do the marking of your work. Number 1, a compound. 2 elements combined, they become something new, C. Number 2, a compound, 2 or more elements bonded together. And bonding is an important term there as well. Number 3, compounds can be formed when elements react. They have to react and then they can bond together. Number 4, what would the name for a compound be formed from sulfur, oxygen, and zinc? It is called zinc sulphate, sulfur and oxygen. So ATE for the oxygen part is added. Right, what is the atomic mass made up of? Well, atomic mass is just a term, but it's made up of protons plus neutrons. Makes up the total atomic mass. Number 6, the electron carries a negative charge. And number 7, what do you call the positive charge in an atom? What do we call it? Proton. Positive proton. Pretty easy to remember. Hope you did well. Please email me if you have any questions or queries, and please complete your worksheet and either send it in on Teams or email it to me. Thank you.